Okay, so today I wanted to talk about another optional adjustment you can make on your guitar. I noticed with mine, the nut seems to be a little bit too high, or actually kind of a lot too high, especially on the low E string. I've noticed that when I fret at the first and second string, it seems like it's so high that when I push it down it causes the note to go out of tune. Let me see if I can demonstrate. But anyway, I noticed that it seemed to have to do with the height of the nut, and I've looked it up, and that's usually the common cause. So what I wanted to do was lower the height. Now, you know, if you have any doubts about it, then you might want to take it to a guitar tech. But if you like to do stuff yourself and you're not afraid of messing it up, then this is something you could possibly try. I do plan on taking mine to get a proper setup at some point, but it's where I live. It's kind of difficult for me to get to the good guitar shops, so I like to try to do as much as I can by myself. So today I'm going to show you a little bit about how to improve the action down on the low frets. So here we go. So the way I initially noticed the problem with the low frets was playing the game Rocksmith. There's some mini games where they tell you to hit certain notes, and the intonation on the notes was so far off that the game was saying that I was hitting the wrong fret when I wasn't. So I kind of played around with it and figured out that that's what was going on. I don't know if you can see here, but that's what it looks like. So from what I've seen in tutorials online, they say that the space between the bottom of your high E string and the top of your first fret should be around 0.010 to 0.012. That's in inches. I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty thin, not much space. This one on this guitar, I would say it's around 0.17. Let me see if I can coordinate this operation. So there's definitely some difference. On this side, it's really high, but what I'm doing here is trying to lower it just a little bit to make it more comfortable, but still leave plenty of nut for a guitar tech to work on. And what I'm going to be showing you today is technically completely wrong and bad technique, bad luthiering. What I'm going to do is pop the nut out and sand it from the back. So what we're going to do is lower all the strings simultaneously slightly, but you know, if you need to have slots cut later or you know, have it sanded, you know, it won't be too low for them to work on it. Now, I read a neat tip somewhere. I think it was from the Dan Earlwine guy that does the StewMac videos. You can actually make nut files by taking a popsicle stick and gluing a wound string to the edge of the stick and then using that as a file. And of course it's going to be the perfect gauge because it's an actual string. And apparently they're a little slow to use, but it's perfect because it means you can't accidentally cut too quickly. So if you decide that you want to file a nut slot yourself and you don't want to pay $90 for a set of nut files, that's a different way you can go. Now obviously it doesn't work for the for the plain strings, you have to use a different kind of tool for that. I think they call it a jeweler's saw or an X-Acto saw. But for the wound strings, you can definitely use the edge of a popsicle stick with the string glued to it. So it's something to consider. The reason I didn't start with that was because apparently the string is supposed to be halfway in the nut slot and halfway out. Now, if you look at this one, I don't know if you can tell or if I'm too far away or too close, but it's about there now. So I don't want to make the nut slot any deeper, because that means I have to file off the top also to bring it back down so that the string's halfway in and halfway out like it's supposed to be. So I had the idea of trying to sand the back of the nut, and just a little bit, you know. So, and I think some fenders have curved nuts in the back, and then that would be, you know, kind of a pain. But I've already taken this one out, and it's completely flat on the back, so it should be pretty much foolproof. So the idea is for it to be foolproof. So we'll see what happens. But next we're going to take off the nut and take a look. Okay, so what we're going to do is take a screwdriver, just kind of pop the nut loose there like that, and then slide it out. And then here we have our nut. And as you can see, it's flat on the back. So that should give us a nice easy surface to work with, and take it down just a tiny bit without doing any harm. Okay, so I have the nut in the caliper at the low E, and the thickness is 0.1830. Now, what we need to do is go ahead and take off the correct amount. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so I'm in the process of filing the nut, and all I'm doing is taking the flat edge and laying it on the file, so there's no way to get the angle wrong, and sliding it up and down like this, which is hard to do one-handed obviously, but just so you get the idea, that's what we're doing. Okay, so we took the appropriate amount off. We got from 830 to 780, so that should bring us down just enough to have a spacing of 0.012. We'll put it back on and see how it goes, and might take a little bit more off. We'll see what happens next. Okay, so pretty much it looks like the job's done. I'm going to play it like this for a little while. I'll eventually look into finding whatever the appropriate glue is for gluing a nut, but it should they stay in just fine even without glue, so that shouldn't be an issue. But I don't know if you can see any difference, but definitely seems to play a lot better to me. Maybe it could play a little bit better, and like I said, maybe I'll go a little bit lower, but I'm going to give this nut time to settle, make sure that, you know, it's all the way seated, and I don't want to go too low too fast, so it seems like it's better to be on the safe side. But I definitely noticed an improvement, and it was really easy. Just took a couple minutes. You're almost guaranteed not to break anything. Oh, also, there's another method of measuring if you don't have a caliper. What they recommend is that you fret the 3rd fret, so I'm going to try to do here, and then slide a piece of notebook paper, or regular printer paper, under the string. And as long as you have enough room to slide it under there, as long as there's just a tiny bit of room enough for it to fit just fine, then you're okay. So, but it's always better to err on the side of caution to start with, but definitely seems to go under there with no trouble. There's a little bit of room left to go down further if we need to, but right now I'm going to call it done. So just something to think about. If you're nowhere near a guitar shop, or you just feel like tinkering with it, that's definitely something you can easily do. So good luck. post any questions in the comments. Thanks for watching.